IW, yeah. IW, yeah. Ooh. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Chart Request Live. Today is Thursday. We usually do this at 1 o'clock. Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties today, coming to you about 40 minutes late. It is 1:40 on Thursday. We're going on, what is it, Pat? 7 straight weeks of gains here.
Yep, 7 straight weeks. First time since 2019, I believe.
Everybody keeps telling me Santa Claus is coming to town. How do we know he didn't already come to town? Maybe Santa just came early this year. I don't know. Don't we look extended here?
It's a good point, and I will say, if he doesn't show, there is just a classic saying about that. If Santa fails to call, bears may come to Broaden Wall, where the stock exchange is. So if we do get some sort of weakness at the end of the year when we're supposed to get that seasonal rally, then that would be a sign that something might be up. It would be bad.
Speaking of seasonals, I was talking to Ian this morning. Have you seen these US dollar seasonals in December?
No.
So it's historically the worst month of the year for the dollar, but the weakness, historically, at least, right, the way it's played out in the past, the weekness is just packed into like the last week of the year. We're not even there yet, right? But the dollar's making multi-month lows. On like a 2-day rate of change basis, dollar hasn't seen back-to-back down days this bad since November of last year, coming off the peak in the dollar last year. Maybe it's kicking off a little bit early. And is that bad? Or I guess, what does it mean if the seasonals don't exactly jive with the way that maybe they're supposed to? In other words, dollar's typically sideways through most of December and then has a big sell into the end of December. Well, what if it starts selling when it's sideways? What does that mean about the time when it's supposed to be selling?
Yeah. That one I think we might be reading too far in, but it's worth thinking about. Yeah.
Am I getting too bullish, Patrick?
Listen, did you see this video that everyone's talking about of the bull on the train tracks?
Tell everybody about this Instagram video.
Yeah, so apparently there's like a bull loose on the New Jersey transit train line. It's just wreaking havoc. I mean, if that's not a sign of the times, then I don't know what it is.
A real bull.
Wow. Anyway, let's get to these tickers.
I just think it's important, right? Just a little reminder. Bull markets make us all feel smarter than we really are, right? I think, bull markets are for taking chances. You can get a little creative. You could take swings at pitches that you might not swing at or want to swing at in a bear market, right? But you could do all those things. You could take on more risk. You could be a little bit more aggressive within the context of managing risk and being responsible, right? Don't get greedy. If something's extended and looks extended and you've made some nice gains on it, there's never anything wrong with selling it, maybe putting it in something that has a better chance of winning, right? All that kind of stuff. You don't want to just say YOLO and throw risk management out the window. You can be more aggressive, and there are things that you could do. You also want to act responsibly, right? When you have gains, when you have profits on the table, there's never anything wrong with taking them. There will be more opportunities, right?
And I think that's a great reminder. I mean, everyone feels like a genius in a bull market, but risk comes at you very quickly.
The market has moved in a big way off the FOMC announcement yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so this is the Russell here. I was telling you this morning, I can't believe how quick we got back to the top end of the range. It seems like we just broke the 200-day, this kind of midpoint, and then we just went boom, vertical, right? Here we are back at the 200 resistance level. Getting a little bit of selling, I don't think it would be the worst thing to see a little bit of weakness over the next few days. I think the market could totally digest that, but after the last few days we've had, what else could you ask for, right? And I think that's why you're seeing this kind of develop into a stock pickers market because you're seeing the small caps come back, and that's where you're seeing breadth improve pretty meaningfully.
For me, a stock picker's market, it's weird. It's a conundrum in a way because if it's not a passive investor's market, you would think, okay, it's a stock picker's market. But when it's not a passive investor's market, so that would be a market where the Magnificent Seven aren't the best stocks anymore
Right, right,
for this year. But typically, that comes with an expansion in breadth.
right.
Call it a
That's a
stock
really
picker's
good point.
market, but it
Yeah,
should be easier to pick stocks in an environment where it's not just seven stocks leading, but everything else is working beneath the surface. It's called a
yeah.
stock picker's market. It actually gets easier to pick stocks, not harder when everything else is working beneath the surface. Anyway,
That you're making too much sense, Steve.
we have some really good requests here today. Let's kick it off with some of the emailed requests. Listen, boy, I got to pick one of these three. I'm just going to let you do it. Costco, Visa, no Visa. You did Visa last week.
Yeah.
So Costco, and I feel like we did Costco too. Do Berkshire.
We'll start with Costco. I'll do Berkshire next, but Costco is one we talked about it on the morning show the other day.
Looks so good.
Beautiful breakout. I really like this. We talk about how much we like bases, but another pattern I really like, and we've been seeing a lot of them lately, and it's kind of similar to a base. You could draw it like a base, but these ascending triangle patterns, I really, it's something over the last couple of years that I've really gravitated towards because, and the psychology of the pattern is kind of interesting too, because like every time it gets rejected at resistance, the bulls are getting more aggressive or sellers are getting less aggressive because it's got that rising trend line. Anyway, you've seen a breakout this week. Beautiful breakout. But yeah, let's move on to Berkshire.
Costco's a great stock.
Great company too. Um, so here we are back at resistance here. Had a little bit of a fail breakout here in September, but testing it again, kind of got that ascending triangle look to it, doesn't it? Where you can kind of draw this trend line here. If I had to come up with a target on it, I would use Fibonacci. When something's in uncharted territory like this, or when it's approaching it, this one isn't quite there yet, but Fibonacci is one of the only tools we have. You could either do that or maybe a measured move. But I really like using Fibonacci. It blows my mind how much these things come into play. But that's all the way at $444. So, that's like 21% or 22% higher for a really, really solid stock like Berkshire. It's basically a conglomerate, right?
Yeah, and if you want more, then you could use the measured move and measure it out. It'll give you a little bit more.
Yeah, so I always ask technicians this, when you draw a measured move, do you use a log scale or do you use the arithmetic for that? Because I've heard both answers.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't measure percentage. I measure with points. Right? You could do both, but I measure with points.
I
So
see. So
scale won't matter. So the way I would do this is what's the upper bound?
oh, so you would actually just calculate it rather than drawing it.
100, right? It's like 260 to 360, right?
Right.
So I'm just tacking 100 onto the breakout level. Yeah.
So breakout levels like 360, 460. Okay. Yeah.
Here's the thing with price targets. It's nice to have a level in mind. I'm not one of those like Gestapo trading experts who's going to be like, plan your trade and know your plan your whatever, right? And don't change it. No, you can monitor
Just
the
don't
stock.
push.
No, because there's a change in character in the short term as something might be moving towards your price target. If you see like a big loss of momentum or some sort of, change in character that you don't like over the near term, is it prudent to sit there and say, well, this was my price target. This is what I agreed to. And I get it. It's important to be responsible and have a plan and follow a process. But at the same time, the last thing that you want to do as a technician is to ignore new data as it comes in.
That's a really good point. I mean, I think that's the tricky part, right? Is having to balance those things, having conviction, but also managing risk at the same time.
if people don't like the answer, but a lot of time, oh, what's your price target? Higher. What's your time frame? Longer. It's really, you're out here watching it every day. You'll know when it's time to take profits, right?
Yeah. When you start to see that loss of momentum, that's usually a decent sign. Or at least, sell a portion of it, maybe move your stops up.
Eric wants to know about snow. Is it breaking out of this base? In Patrick's view, 191 seemed
Ooh.
seemed like a meaningful level to be above for continued upside. This one looks as good as any of them. It took a little bit longer than most of its peers, so it's definitely not a leader, but a lot of my fundamental friends like this one a lot, Pat.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So I mean they're a software name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean software stocks, they've just been great these last few weeks, few months.
And
Really an area of relative strength.
this looks just like XSW or Arc Internet, right?
Totally. Yep. Yep. So this one,
Clean.
yeah, very clean level. You can see, I mean, the market's made it clear that this is an important inflection point. Acted as support here after the IPO and then fell through. Now it's been acting as resistance. Steve always calls these levels of polarity. And I think that's a really good way of thinking about it because, support, or sometimes these levels act as support, sometimes they act as resistance. It's better to think of them like a magnet, right? Where if it's above, got to be bullish. If it's below, you got to be bearish, kind of thing. And that can be difficult for people to understand because you can go from being bullish to bearish very quickly on these things. And it's like, hey, you liked the thing yesterday. How do you hate it today and want to short it, right?
There's a concept of confluence of information or confluence of indicators, right? That we talk about a lot as technicians. And all that really means is that there are multiple reasons or more than one reasons why this level is important. When you hear the word confluence, that's usually what we're saying. Go ahead and drop a VWAP from the all-time highs in this one.
Sure. Let me expand the chart a little bit so you can see it better.
You must be using a Mac.
I sure am. How could you tell?
It's harder to zoom out
Oh yeah?
doing the finger thing, at least for me. I don't know. I never really got used to that.
So I know we got a lot going on here. Let me delete the moving average.
No, the all-time high.
Oh, the old, okay. Oh, okay. There you go.
So there's your confluence, right? You got the resistance zone at the highs from summer of 2022. Then you have the VWAP, King VWAP from the all-time highs coming in, reinforcing the importance of this breakout zone.
Totally. And then, I mean, you got the Fibonacci levels aligning perfectly with the actual highs. So, if it's above, what is that, 185 or yeah, 185? It's kind of being blocked there. It's above 185, looks like it's going to 250. What do you think,
All day.
Steve?
These
Yeah,
patterns continue to work all year, over and over and over and over again. Now the launch pads, right, the foundations are just getting bigger and even
yeah,
stronger, right? So the ones
yeah,
that are resolving later, you call them laggards. Well, you could also say they just built a much larger foundation with which to now launch higher from and enter a new uptrend phase.
totally, yeah. And the basing process, it's a really frustrating process. And basically, it's been frustrating for longs in this stock all year, for more than a year now. And now you get the resolution. Now it's on if it breaks that. And I like your idea of using confirmation, using the VWAP as kind of confirmation on this trade to really get you in. Um, like if I were to buy this, I'd probably wait for that VWAP to be broken.
Totally. Um, so a comment in the chat that I just love here. Cloudflare, so that's net, looks like this, but better. Clean breakout. Just go straight to Cloudflare.
Yeah,
And they all look like this.
totally. Yep. Yep.
It's a lot of you in the chat who are looking at these charts are going to say, oh, the one I like looks like this. So many of them look like this
And
right
they
now.
should, right?
They've been looking like this. We went from a bear market. Pat, take it back to the left side of the screen. Show the big downtrend, right? So we went
Sorry.
from a bear to a consolidation phase or trendless or range bound market. And now these charts that are breaking out, taking out these breakout levels like the one that we just discussed in Snowflake, now they're entering new uptrend phases.
Yeah. And what you basically described was stage analysis, right? You know, they went from kind of they're basically entering stage two uptrends now. They're above an upward sloping 200-day moving average. That's kind of like the default for stage analysis, I think, right?
And did
40.
you notice how, of course, absolutely. Did you notice when Brian Shannon was on yesterday, he's talking about, oh, this one's going from stage one to stage two.
Oh yeah. Brian's a big Stan Weinstein fan, stage analysis.
Brian Lund talks the same way. Us here at All Star Charts, we say, well, look at this base. Look at this, bearish to bullish trend reversal, right? Look at this textbook rounding bottom. We're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Pat, sometimes we come on here and we say, how Wyckoffean is this, right? This Wyckoff accumulation.
It does have some elements of that in it. Totally.
In technical analysis, we have so many different phrases to say the same things, right? So when I'm saying base or a primary reversal and Brian's saying stage one to stage two, or the Wyckoff people are talking about accumulation, we're all talking about, in essence, the same thing, which is the primary trend shifting from sideways to up. And for any investor or trader with a longer term time frame, that is your bread and butter pattern. What that means is if you get an entry on, Pat, like you were just saying, this base breakout level in Snowflake, you're buying the stock the moment it transitions or shifts from a sideways market to an uptrending market, which is exactly how we do this, or how we're supposed to do this when we're doing it right. Right. So it's literally like the optimal entry if you want to participate in a new bull market or a new uptrend. Stage one to stage
Absolutely.
two, base breakout, all the same stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because a base will have that transitioning process from a stage one to a stage two, right?
Did you want to give a level for Cloudflare quick?
Yeah, let's do that. For Cloudflare, I forgot we looked at Snow and Cloudflare here, but I would also fib it out here, and I would do the same thing, drop a VWAP from the all-time high. Yeah, that's the all-time high, right? Okay, so this one's actually above it, and you can see it's very close to that one. So you got confirmation, I think, already. If it's above that 75 level, call it, I think it probably goes to 112.
Yeah. Listen, I love this one. Got long this one in Path the other day. That like it's the same thing, right? It's the
And
same.
our viewers are, as you would say, fishing in the right pond. I mean, this is the industry that you want to be looking at right now. Software, semis, home builders. You mentioned broker dealers earlier. That's another interesting one.
You want to be in the most risk on, most offensive, most aggressive stocks.
Yeah, if it is a new bull market, yeah, absolutely.
If it's a new bull market, don't you want to be in the stocks that tend to go up the most during bull markets?
You want the juice, yeah,
They tend to be
absolutely.
the riskiest stocks, right?
Yeah,
When we talk about like these archy trends, we're just talking about speculative stocks, right? Like long duration assets. Wavy, when you're right, man. I love what's going on with these metals stocks right now.
what does he got?
Basically, more so industrial than precious metals. Wavy's talking about SLX, steel. I think, Pat, we were just talking offline about what I've been doing with some steel stocks. I'm involved with STLD personally. I feel like I picked the wrong vehicle though.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Wavy, good eye here because I already got this one marked up. It broke out a couple weeks ago actually, but sideways for a while. I remember, Steve, weren't these the metal trade was kind of heating up in, well, I guess we can look. Yeah, 2021, and then it was kind of disappointing, right? It never really materialized.
I mean, it's just like energy, only they're already continuation patterns. We look at these ranges in energy and start saying, oh, distribution top. Really, energy could look like this in a couple weeks or a couple months, right? Where
Totally.
really just huge move off the 2020 lows and then just straight sideways, been dead for so long. that if you do get an upside range resolution with something with such a strong structural uptrend behind it, can be really powerful.
Yeah, and this one kind of goes along with that theme, right? The XME.
Yeah.
It's still in that consolidation though. I think I like SLX better, but
What,
still just kind of coiling up. Oh, well, I guess
give
you
us
could
a
call that a breakout.
well, give us a target on SLX. Why don't you zoom
Yeah,
like
sure.
out?
Sorry,
Like
I'm hopping around here.
zoom all the way out and maybe fib it from the all-time high to the all-time low.
Oh, okay. I see what you're looking for a retracement. I would have, here, we got to put this in a monthly.
Hey now, talk about a monster base.
You would go the whole thing, huh? Wow. Wow. That's really something. And it kind of aligns with this, you know. Oh, how do you feel about this? Would you wait for it to clear this?
Yeah.
These highs from
Uh,
2011?
no, because the market has reinforced the importance of these pivot highs or these multi-year highs enough, right? So
Right,
I'm
and maybe that's what the last 2 years have been, right? Absorbing that supply from 2011.
you buy this range resolution all day, and I think your target's the all-time highs.
Oh yeah, you think? Wow.
Yeah.
But for a shorter term target, I think I would probably use that. I would fib out this space if you wanted a shorter term. Uh,
Yeah, about the consolidation there. Sure.
yeah, and that gets to you to around 91.
91. I mean, you're basically there. Here's the thing. If you're going to make it to 90, you're probably going to make it to 100.
Right, totally, totally.
Uh,
Yeah,
what else we got? I love that SLX. Taiwan Semi for Hansen, TSM. Again, the right pond to be fishing in. Semiconductor.
yeah,
Yeah. I I think just in general, and you have to know yourself, so everybody's different. Depending on what your risk tolerance is. I have trouble. And this is why I didn't buy Broadcom last week. And I've been complaining about it all week since. The reason I didn't buy it is because I'm like, this is like a $400 billion stock. So by definition, it's going to move less than some of the riskier, smaller stocks. I'm going to take that capital and put it in some biotech or something, right? And then it does what it does. The larger the company is, right, it tends to be more quality, lower volatility, and then also lower beta. Taiwan Semi is kind of that in semiconductors, right? It's like the slow and steady. There's a lot of
yeah,
juice out there. If you move down the cap scale on some of these semis names, you can stand to make a lot more. But again, everybody's different. This is a much safer asset to put in your portfolio than something down the cap scale, and it still looks good, right?
yeah. I mean, totally. It's run it. So you can see this was support here, well, around 105-ish. Support up until market was under pressure in 2022. Here we are. We got rejected this summer. Nice little reset here, if you want to call it that. If we reclaim that 100 and call it 110 to be safe, looks like it's going back up to this 140 level, the all-time highs there. And from there, I mean, it probably if it makes it back there, it probably goes. But yeah, this one looks great. Strong area too. You know, you could look at TSM versus SPY, probably looking good.
I'm gonna just toss them at you. We're gonna go really quick.
Yeah, let's go.
Taking it from the top in the chat. Charles River Laboratories, CRL.
CRL, like the show.
Ha
Yeah, so this one has a gap here. I don't know what happened there, but it's coming into it right now.
Yep.
So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how quickly those gaps can fill. And if you want to know how quick those gaps can fill, pull up a chart of like financials right now because we're seeing a lot of those gaps fill. You know, Steve, you've been all over this one, KeyCorp, and look at that. I mean, you fill it in one day because it fell. It was created in one day. There's just no price memory there. So when it starts to get into those gap areas, it really starts to go. So I would be watching to see how if it fills this gap from there. If it fills the gap, then you got this one to deal with, this 250-ish level, little over 250. But But if it clears that, then that's where I would bring in the Fibonacci here.
Other bases look better. It's not completed, right?
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but what are they? Is this like healthcare? Is this
I think it's devices. It had
commercial
a little spring.
services? Okay.
You had a little spring with that breakdown to new lows, right?
Yeah, that's true. I like that. I like when those moves start with failed breakdowns here.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of them out there have that right now.
How about the island and Ford? Let's just do Ford.
Okay. Oh, I love a good island
You're a big
reversal.
island guy. I
I'm
saw
a
the
big island guy.
morning.
Yeah.
I thought
Um,
of you. I thought of you when I was marking this one up this morning.
Islands and the abandoned baby pattern, right? I think that's usually just one candle when you just have a stray candle. But if you have a cluster of them, that's an island reversal. So this is an island right here. And why is it an island? Because you have two gaps. Island is formed with two gaps. You got the downward gap here at the end of October, and then yesterday or today, you have this gap higher here. And I think we could call this a breakaway gap because it's happening right at a key level of polarity. Acted as support for a while, was resistance for a little, and then we just gapped above it. So I think you want to be looking at these the top end of the range. If you guys think back on what that Russell 2000 chart looked like and how quick, at the top of the show, we started it by saying how quick it got back to the top end of the range from that failed breakdown, same setup. So if a similar thing happens here, I think you're going to be wanting to look towards 15, and that's significantly higher. 25%. Okay, thought it was a little more, but
You got 30% to the summer highs. That's a really nice trade in a name like Ford, right? If you want to trade this.
yeah, and I almost forgot we're looking at Ford here. We're not looking at
Ford. Yeah.
some
No,
speculative
and I'm
biotech.
with you, Pat. I think we might get some pushback from the academic technician crowd, but that's a breakaway gap, man. That's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
a gap. All right, Crocs. Do Crocs quick.
And regardless of what you call it, that's bullish price action.
And that's what matters, right? If the essence is the same, don't overthink it too much.
Right. Yeah.
Abandoned babies, islands, whatever.
It is fun to talk about it though.
It's supply and demand.
So here we got it. The gap trying to fill it, getting some initial rejection here. Um, so might not do it this time. RSI, that's good. I like to see it oversold, but would have liked to see it make a new high today. So you want to see it fill this gap. It's kind of a messy chart. I mean, we've looked at so many good ones that I wouldn't short it, wouldn't be bearish on it, but probably not the strongest, but decent action. Broke this downtrend line. What do you think, Steve? Where would you be looking for this one? If it fills this gap, I'd say it probably goes to this gap here, starting 135, 140.
It's
But it would
fine.
need to clear that 120.
I think it's a very short-term trade. Like zoom in more, because you're right. And you got this little coil here, this high and tight bull flag. Zoom way in. Yeah, zoom way
Oh
in.
yeah, I see
And
what you
that's
mean. Yeah.
it. There's something here tactically, but it's when you zoom out, it's a mess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. And for a short-term trade, if it fills this, then you're looking at a nice pop to there. And that's decent. I mean, that's
If you measure that
14.
flag pull out, you get around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
That
right.
would make
Moving on.
sense.
We don't have time. So look, I don't want to ignore questions like this, but I also just PSA, it's not really what this show is for. Maybe we could have a more constructive conversation about like trading questions like this during the morning show. But Trickwood says, "Hey gents, help a noob out. How do you guys know when to fully close a position to take profits versus maybe selling half or letting that baby ride?" This is not a question you could just answer in a forum like this. This is a question that requires a conversation first of who are you? What are your risk preferences, right? What's your risk tolerance? What is your time frame? What kind of person are you? How emotional do you get during down markets? How emotional do you get during up markets, right? Everybody's different. Like I could answer this question well if I know that I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow and I have a lot of risk on and my positions are up X amount, then I'm going to take some off. Like it's very different for every single person how to actually manage, particularly in taking half off, taking your cost basis off is another way to do it. Sean has been trading for, God, I don't know, 30 years professionally, and he just changed up the way that he approaches taking half off or taking his cost off. Right. So, like, there's no perfect answer for anybody. These are really, really the toughest questions. They're good questions to ask, but I think we would do a disservice to try and answer them in this forum.
That was a great answer right there. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Teledoc, thanks. I love the show. There's a little scoop move potentially happening here, but I like Ford a lot more.
yeah, and you know this one is kind of further or not further. It's not as far along in its recovery process, and you know it's trying to reclaim it, but so far we're getting it rejected here. So you know, just really, really, really sharp downtrend here. If it gets above 23, then that's interesting. I think you could probably could potentially go back to like this 40 level.
I'm not a fan of this one.
But yeah, this is just a real nasty downtrend. But that's your level, 20, 22, 23. Reclaims that bullish, but
Pat, go back to the Crocs quick. It just came up to me. Daily breakout of a super tight box. Do we measure the move? Just illustrate how to measure a flag breakout. Just measure the flagpole and just show how we would do that if we're trading this flag.
yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna actually no, I'll take it from here. This low.
And again, there's no right answer. Do you measure from the closing low? Do you measure from the intraday low? I don't know. Different great traders and great technicians will give you different answers, right? There is a lot of gray areas with what we do here. I like the way that Pat draws these really, really fat resistances. Some people be like, no, you got to draw them with just lines. I don't know.
Okay, so that gets you back to the all-time highs, right?
Boom.
Lines
So
like perfectly.
out, but zoom in and show how you measure the pole, right? You want to measure from the low to the high of the advance that immediately precedes the coil in the flag. I just really want you to zoom in.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. Right. So you want to measure the low to the high from that advance that leads into the flag pattern, and then project that onto the upper bounds of the flag pattern, which we're just now here taking out today.
Yeah, and then that, you know, aligns perfectly. So you could use that as almost confirmation of a price target. That's a good way to look at it.
We did net. KAI.
This one, Kaden. So this one was one that we had highlighted in the buzz a few months ago, actually.
Buzzing.
What's that?
You're buzzing.
It was buzzing. Yeah. So a lot of these industrial plays have been really strong lately. And this was kind of part of that theme. Beautiful base breakout. I mean, what else could you ask for? Really nice solid uptrend that preceded it. You made no progress for like 2 years, and here we are resolving higher. As far as price targets, I would fib it out here, and we could also do a measured move. We'll do that. I would be looking at 315 for potential price target there. As long as it's above that 240 level, this looks like a really good one. And you're getting confirmation from momentum there. I know I'm using weekly RSI here. It's not your favorite. Here you're not getting so much confirmation from momentum. So something to watch there, but oh, okay. Must have taken the price target off. But really like this one. And it's in a leading group too. So that's another great one.
Doug Adam Wired, some very funny comments in the chat. Okay. Key and KRE. I mean, look, the move's already happening. You want to just do key real quick?
Yep. This is yours. Why don't you speak to this one?
I'm out of most of my position. And that's again, right? Like when we do stuff like this, I have a higher risk tolerance than a lot of the other guys that we work with. So we put on a June options position. And then I said, you know what? I think this coil, zoom way in on the coil, Pat. Showed the coil that just preceded the move of the last 2 days, right? Yeah, even just draw me a little pennant there. I looked at that right at the upper bounds. I said, I want more, and I also want more juice in it. So I bought some January calls, and then I bought more January calls right before the FOMC announcement. I'm out of most of the January calls now. That we're just in a really fast market, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm still in the Junes. That's fine. Let it run a little bit, and my Januaries will more than pay for it if I in the case that I'm wrong. Happy to let it go to zero. But in this kind of a market where you're getting 5, 6, 7, 8% moves in a day, stocks like this, don't be crazy, right? We talked about on the morning show this morning, like, what if this reverses? What if it does? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I have profits on the table right now that I want to take. At least sell your cost basis and give yourself a free ride. If you've been getting long over the past few days or since last week, you're up very nicely, right? Take your money back and at least give yourself a free ride. Maybe sell half, take a little bit of a profit. And if you're doing it through options, there should be plenty of profits to take. So with something like Key, that was my trade. Wanted to trade the gap.
Yeah.
We're not exactly there, but we're damn close, and it happened fast. The way options work, you're going to see your returns just increase exponentially once you get in the
Yeah,
money.
and the nice thing about that trade too is your risk is defined, right? It's not like where you have the equity and you have a stop loss on, and if it gaps down, you get that slippage. With the options, you know exactly how much you have at stake.
What are we talking about? Salads, pepperoni pizzas in the chat, guys? I don't know what's going on. What
Sounds like
drink?
y'all are having a party in the chat.
I know everybody's having a good time. Rachel, I don't know if like people are like hanging out without us. I don't know what's going on.
Let's get some
CLF,
tickers. We got anything left?
Nasdaq Poppy with CLF. Listen, I think this is an interesting pond to go fishing in right now. These metals, these materials, these commodity stocks, I don't know, seem to be waking up here a little bit. It falls into that whole cyclical and value theme. I think energy, we'll see. But the other ones, we talked about steel already today. We've talked about copper with something like Freeport. Cliffs does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you were talking about Newmont earlier. Do you want to talk about that one at all?
No,
No, not at all.
CLF. This is
Okay,
gold. No,
stick back with CLF.
yeah,
So this one, I would be drawn. Well, here you saw it act as support all year and dating back 2021 there. So holding that nicely, refused to break it over the last few years, had the chance, but it didn't. Now you have the breakout of this 2-year downtrend. I think in the short term, you want to be looking at this 2250, call it, level, and that's those highs from February. But then longer term, I think it goes back to these. Is that all-time highs? No, no. But these 2022 highs, and that's around 30, yeah, 30, 32, 33. And you could also fib this out too. Would you fib this out, Steve?
uh,
I mean, it lines very, very nicely here. You could use that, if you were trading this downtrend breakout, you could use this as kind of your confirmation. Okay, so it's above 1771, call it $18. Then you're looking to play it back to these former highs, which is also that Fibonacci level. So I'd be looking at 2250 at this point.
Patrick, we got a good one coming up next.
Ooh, what you got?
We're gonna do two more that I'm gonna choose because we're running out. Toll Brothers, because I know we talked about it on here. We talked about how we were bullish. Zoom way in on the daily. Again,
Sure.
talk about how you could take more chances, but you still want to sell. The best traders will also tell you, let your winners run. I sold this one 10 points ago. I bought the little coil.
Which one, this one or this?
Draw resistance there at the highs from earlier in the year.
Oh,
And then
okay.
you see that high
Gotcha.
and tight. Yep. And then you see the high and tight thing. So
Yeah.
I bought that as it was resolving. And I sold it, I don't know, 6 or 7 days later. And now
Oof.
it's 10 points higher from where I sold it.
Oof.
But that's
Yeah, it's
okay.
just gone vertical.
That's okay. It was a great
Yeah.
trade. Somebody's asking about it now, like, hell no. Right? I mean, this
Yeah,
thing's
I wouldn't be starting a position here at all. It's been a great run. And I think that's the tricky thing is you look at what has worked and you got to ask yourself, is it going to keep working? Um,
so this
that's
is
all.
probably a good lesson. Don't look at the 161.8 here and say, I got to get 112 from this. Look at the chart. Look at what it has done, right? How much it has gone up just over the past couple of weeks. Take the money. Feed the dog.
Yeah,
You did good. You did good. You bought a leader at a good level and it's paid you well. This is kind of getting into the, who knows where it goes next kind of territory with the way it's been melting up.
totally. And I wouldn't get short here. I would
No,
because it is
no.
so strong. But because typically what the strongest trends do when they hit their first Fibonacci, I mean the strongest trends will just go to the next one. But the second strongest ones will just kind of consolidate around that level for sometimes it can be months, years. It's really messy around there, and then it'll go to the next Fibonacci level. But it's not worth shorting them at that specific price, at least a leader like this one.
You definitely don't want to short it, but you do want to acknowledge that it's up, I don't know, 20% in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It looks great. Longer term, still love it. But if you were in some sort of a short term trade, like buying that coil, I don't know what more you could want. It's been
I mean,
great.
just in these last like less than 3 months, it's up 50%. And more than
All
that.
right.
It's insane.
Yeah, we got some good ones here. BLK looks so good, guys. It's just now completing a reversal pattern. We're not going to be able to get to it. Mara, it's just the wrong question to ask, unfortunately. So much stuff is working in crypto.
This BLK one, that does look good. I see what they're saying.
Looks fantastic. And then why don't we just do, yep, coin. Listen, coin is extended as well. Twist, TWST.
This is one of your favorites.
See what Pat has to say about this. I'm not going to
Oh,
say.
okay. You want me to break this one down? I
Not,
was waiting for you to break it down because I know how much you like it. I know what you were probably seeing here was this consolidation. And that again, those flags are really nice where it's just real tight after a really sharp vertical move, and then you get these just like a couple weeks of just really, really tight action, and then bam, just absolutely flies out of there. I think it's interesting that it went right to this little shelf of resistance. If it breaks that ultimately, I mean, I'd expect to see a little bit of resistance there, but if it breaks it, then you're looking at, oh, those aren't all-time highs. Uh, the August highs, August 2022 highs around 57. But that one has been really strong these last few days. What is that? 25 to 35? $10. Nice. But I wouldn't be getting long right here because you have that resistance. If I did want to get long this, I would wait for it to clear that and then play it back to these August 2022 highs around 57.
great job, Pat. I agree. Listen, made a big move just in 2 days here. Doesn't mean it can't keep melting higher. The base is really shaping up nicely. I'm looking at the base breakout just above those year-to-date highs.
Okay.
It's not even year-to-date. Yeah, just the summer highs. Yeah,
Yeah.
not for me. Um, super overbought momentum readings are not a bad thing. You have
Yep.
long.
And you're not seeing oversold these last few months. That's also really good.
Before we close out, Pat, just throw
Yeah.
up a chart Do you have a rate of change indicator? Because I
Oh
really
yeah.
would love to see just the rate of change on maybe do ITB or XHB.
You do these in a weekly or monthly even.
Just look at the
Oh,
one day
okay.
rate of change. I mean, this is bonkers. These are home builders. These are companies that build and sell new homes.
Yeah, I mean, if we go all the way out, you can see the in the last day or two, we've had some of the best days. And again, a really, really important area of the market too. Home builders. I mean, that's a
It's as,
huge part of the economy.
it's as pro-cyclical as it gets. If you read the newspaper every day, you would be shocked to find out that, over the past year or so, these stocks have actually doubled. The ones that are making the houses, right? Real estate market's in trouble, all this stuff. Couldn't look better. Talk about market leaders. I mean, these are some of the most offensive stocks, some of the most risk on stocks, and they're just like thrusting like over and over and over again. This is a huge move, 5% in these indexes. Yeah, look at the relative performance there.
I guess
Right?
with this one, you'd probably want to look at XHB, right? SPY. Oh my gosh, look at that
So I love
huge,
that.
huge.
That's showing the outperformance. This is really
This
for us
is this is
stuff.
XHB bring out of a 10-year base.
Yeah.
10-year base.
Yeah.
And that's the
That's
relative
incredible.
performance of the equal, that's the equal weight, right?
The market
XHB.
is really giving us all signals go right now. Big green light. Um, Guys, thank you so much for just keeping the chat so fun.
Yeah, you guys are the best. Thank you
Keeping it
guys so much.
lively out here. Patrick and I absolutely love doing this. This is why we go over by about 15 minutes every chance that we get. Wavy, I know, 50% twice in 2008. I don't know what to tell you. This ain't 2008, dog. They're gonna be just fine. Look, join us here every Tuesday and Thursday. Come back next week, 1 o'clock. Patrick and I will be breaking down all of your guys' favorite chart ideas, chart requests, going through it, talking about, current developments in the market. Everybody stay safe out there. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.